I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies. I love cookies.
Welcome to Cookies, the basketball podcast. I am Ben Detrick. With me, as you might expect, per usual, Jordan Redaelli is here.
Hello, everyone.
What's going on, sunshine?
Nothing. I almost wasn't here though.
Did you get waylaid?
I did. I got waylaid. I got fake attacked at the train station by like a dude that looked like a 60-year-old version of Al Pacino in Carlito's Way.
Like very Ratso Rizzo?
A little. He had like a deep fake tan and like really like over-dyed black pompadour. Is that what it's called?
Was he in his like 40s, 50s?
Oh no, 60s.
60s.
I would say late 50s, early 60s, and he had a cane, and he was brandishing a razor blade at me, and telling me he was going to cut my throat if I didn't give him $1.
This is also an insane tale, a harrowing saga. This happened to you today.
Yeah, like an hour ago. It wasn't that harrowing because I didn't really believe him, and I don't think he was pretty little. I don't think he would have been able to like slash my throat. But it was a little confronting to have somebody not just asking you for money, but telling you they're going to murder you if you don't, and then pull out a razor blade and show you the instrument of choice.
Was it a straight razor, or was it the kind of like a small razor, the kind you would tuck into your mouth if you were in Flatbush in 1996?
Exactly that kind of razor. The Flatbush 96 mouth razor.
The Gemstar.
Yes. So that was fun on the way here.
Now,
good to see like New York's not all like Amazon condos yet.
In my mind,
it's not going to be at all anyway.
He's Richie Aprile from The Sopranos. Is that a fair?
Well, he was wearing an abundance of plastic gold chains. Like I'm talking like 10 or 12 of them with big pendants,
dripping,
full drip. He looked like Trinidad James, but less fake gold than Trinidad James.
Not even like Canal Street quality. Like
we're
talking about
I think it was
mall jewelry.
Not even that, like junk jewelry, like costume jewelry. Yeah.
Like thrift store jewelry.
Yeah, potential, but he looked kind of cool until he got all stabby on me.
So he brandished this razor blade.
Yes.
And what did you do? You were staring at a man who has threatened your life and is now showing you the weapon with which he plans to take your life.
Yeah, I just told him not to come near me, or I would take his life.
Was that the phraseology that you used?
No, I just said, look, man, I don't think you're really trying to hurt me. You just seem hungry and desperate, but I don't have anything for you.
You were a humanist to the core.
I was like, but if you take a step closer, I got a 2, maybe even a 3-piece Happy Meal for you.
Did you then produce several razor blades? And was there a Dundee moment in this situation? Because it was ripe for Dundee.
I didn't even think about that. No,
you call that a razor blade?
No,
then
yeah.
You take out one of the
contrary to popular belief,
bone-handled
not
razor.
all Australians carry knives around. Although, if it really got down to it, I would have run upstairs and got a newspaper real quick and like wrapped it around my arm and around my neck, like Chris, what's his name in Black Hat? Have you seen Black Hat, the masterpiece?
Yes.
When he goes to that weird, like kickboxing festival or whatever the fuck he's at.
Oh right.
And he like wraps his arms and his neck in newspaper so that he can't get stabbed. That's what I would have done.
My understanding, and this
Hemsworth, Thor himself.
This comes from no personal experience in the knife fighting arena. Even an incident like yourself, fighting off a deranged homelessman in the train station.
Just to be clear, I did not fight anybody off. I strongly encouraged him to back the fuck away from me. I didn't hurt anybody.
Right. You staved him off with words.
Yes. I reasoned with the unreasonable.
That's kind of what I do on Cookies on a daily basis.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
what I was going to say was, I thought you kind of take your jacket off and you kind of bundle it up and you kind of wrap it around your arm if you don't have access to, say, a stack of phone
Well,
books.
I was wearing a puffy North Face, so I'm not really sure what the fucking North Face is going to do for me. It's just like,
I love that. Right, it's bundled up. It's this huge, massive thing, and you're holding it, and it's like you could probably put a pin.
yeah,
it's
maybe,
like right into
maybe
your
he would
right.
just, maybe
right
he
into
would
your
just
palm.
puncture it with the razor blade, and I would be holding onto it, and I would just like fly out of the subway tunnel like a popped balloon.
I was thinking that you could escape in the cloud of downy feathers that explodes into the train station as he squints as they
I don't know that if
fall
I
around
don't
him
know
like
that it,
like new snow.
I don't know. I mean, he did have a cane. I don't think it was like a thing of like needing to escape or outrunning him. I just needed to buy my train ticket without getting like the back of my knees slashed or something like that by this weird little fucking Italian gremlin motherfucker. Hey.
Yeah, your career could have been over if he'd severed both ACLs.
Yeah, what would I do?
You'd have to survive on your wits and looks alone, Jordan.
God, I'd have to record cookies sitting down.
I mean, you typically do it Beto O'Rourke style, standing on top of a table.
I like that. Sometimes I like it in my upside down, like my Michael Keaton Batman moves. So it's all that blood rushing to my head that gives me such insight into the sport of basketball and crap movies.
Do you think that...
Never.
No, I know that part. I was more speculating about the man who accosted you in the metro station. Do you think he then confronted the next person with a threat on their life? As in, would you feel somewhat responsible if you went on your way and then he cut someone's throat? Would you feel like maybe I should have acted a little?
Well, I did tell him that he should get his ass out of the train station and go upstairs. But he didn't. He was bothering other people that were in line for the machine, but he only brandished the blade at me. Maybe he didn't feel comfortable doing it to other people. Maybe
Crazy recognize crazy?
Crazy recognized crazy. Maybe he thought just because I'm like a large person that he needed to bring that.
Right, I was going to say it's a weird strategy. Let me find the largest man prison style and confront him with a small razor blade.
I don't know, whatever. He was hungry. I didn't have anything for him. Move on. Well, I mean, the story was getting really depressing. It was more about like an annoying occurrence on my way to the lab. What is this place even called?
The lab.
It is called the lab, in keeping with your 90s hip-hop sensibilities.
Absolutely. There was another train incident in New York that a lot of people talked about this week where there was a man, middle-aged, on the train, in his 40s, I believe, because he was later arrested, 38, 40. He kicked an elderly woman in the face several
repeatedly.
times, like 4 or 5 times, like really letting her have it. And she was slumped on the seat in the corner. And some people videotaped it from several angles. Some people kind of made some noise. He yelled "World Star" as he walked off.
He did not.
He did.
Oh.
Something like, yeah, "World Star" that, or something along those lines. But there was also an outcry about the people who did nothing.
Okay.
Is that fair? Should people have stepped in seeing this beating versus just recording it?
Well, I mean, it's that hard mentality. It's like, was one person going to jump in? Unless there's a coordinated attack, then it might just be one other person who's, ends up getting stabbed, or they end up getting like assaulted, or they try and stop something, they end up assaulting somebody else. I don't know, it's very difficult. I would like to think, and I'm almost certain that if I saw any person kicking another person in the face, doesn't matter how big they were, that I would at least try to prevent them from further kicking this person.
There was a case in New York a long time ago, and they made a Law and Order episode out about it, where it was infamous and used as evidence by the national, local media, whatever, that New Yorkers were bad people, and that a woman was assaulted and called for help and screamed in the street. I believe she was raped. I'm not exactly sure, but it was a sexual assault, and the story that came out of this, I want to say this was the 80s or 90s. The story that came out of this was that New Yorkers wouldn't help each other, that they would not call the cops. Everyone wanted to mind their own business. And this was a little bit like that in terms of the perception. But it turned out that people did call the cops and the cops didn't come. And that story, despite the fact that it was used as evidence that New Yorkers were pieces of shit. Apparently, a lot of people did call the cops and they didn't respond. I'm almost wondering, yes, people could have jumped in and done something. Isn't recording it and making sure this man comes to justice, might be better, arguably, than like lunging in and tackling him?
Yeah, it could be.
Maybe.
Unless that fifth kick to the head is the one that kills her.
Very true.
Yeah. It's really surprising that this is such a gloomy episode of Cookies so far, since it's fucking beautiful outside. We're really bringing the spring heat here with like knife fights and old ladies get kicked in the face.
Look, the old New York is back, thanks de Blasio.
Speaking of old ladies getting kicked in the face, why is everyone picking? Why is everyone picking on?
I was looking at the big board.
Why is everyone picking on Dirk? Like it's I know I brought this up the other day, but Kevin Durant brought it up the other like 2 days ago as well. Why is everyone so keen on getting him out of the league? He's like inarguably pretty bad at this point, but who cares? Like if they got a roster spot available for him, they're not good either. They have 2 European superstars that could benefit from his tutelage, but quite honestly, everyone is cheering him out of his goddamn career. Stop kicking Dirk in the face.
It's kind of great. It's like he showed up he's been at the bar drinking, and people are just like handing him his coat, like handing him his credit card bill. He's like, yeah, let me get one. No. Great to see you, Dirk. Like, we'll just usher you out right now.
I think he is going to come back. I think that despite that he's been given this like little, like cruisy send off, I think he's going to come back for one more. I think he will ride pine and barely put in any minutes.
Also, the NBA giving him kind of an honorary all-star position was definitely the NBA's way of saying, you're out of here, right?
But this is
can you come back after you were given like a fake all-star spot? Next year, like, yeah, I'm back. And like, well, do you get that fake all-star spot? Or is that just because you and Dwayne Wade are tied together forever because of that fiasco of a finals?
I think that's why they did it. They were, trying to pay their respects to the last of the old guard. But Vince Carter's coming back next year. Why can't Dirk? Like, no one else gets to decide his destiny. And he's deserved any amount of minutes, no matter how good or bad they are, that he wants.
I'm trying to think what the cutoff is for the quote-unquote old guard. Because you're right. Duncan gone, Manu gone, Parker is still around, but no one really cares about him anymore. Vince is still there. If we get Dirk out, Wade out, who is the new like old guard? Is it LeBron?
It's
Melo. Melo's not even really in the league.
It's the 34 to 35-year-old guys, and that's just LeBron.
I was trying to think.
Kind of just LeBron and Nene.
Like Trevor Ariza, the old guard. It just doesn't sound right.
No, that's who it is. Bunch of old fucking dudes.
All right, so I'm going to list off the oldest guys in the NBA.
All right.
Vince, obviously. Dirk, obviously. Jamal Crawford doesn't really have that cachet of the old guard. Pau Gasol?
Yeah.
Sort of.
Yeah, he's old guard. What do you mean sort of? He's got 2 championships and he's played on a bunch of teams.
I mean, he's the best player on the championship Lakers, as we all know.
Okay.
Udonis Haslem. I mean, OG.
Well, is Haslem even playing anymore? He's more of a Dirk.
He's played in 8 games, and he's averaging 4.4 minutes per game. So that sounds to me like he's played 36 minutes this season.
That's pretty good. Sounds to me like you need to go back to math class, but
whatever. Kyle Korver.
Oh, Vampire Ashton Kutcher still got it.
Tyson Chandler, Nene, Tony Parker, Channing Frye, Devin Harris, Iguodala. Like it's kind of we've lost like the legends of the prior generation.
Fry, man, I remember watching Channing Frye as a freshman in college. I wasn't a freshman in college; he was.
Looking at this list, it's LeBron, Pau, maybe Mark,
And Vince.
Redick, LaMarcus Aldridge. I mean, you're starting to get into your like mid to early 30s. It just isn't the same.
Well, the league is young heavy these days. Is that a term that we could use here at Cookies? Young heavy.
That's how many people describe this triumvirate. Triumvirate. Also, shout out to Andrew Kuo. We've gotten so accustomed to him
To his absence.
that we just kind of rolled right into the show. Yes, Andrew Kuo is not here, and he is still relentlessly putting up photos of delicious food.
Yeah, come back soon, Andrew. We miss you.
Wherever he is, it's approximately 5 a.m. He's snug as a bug.
Furiously Googling where to watch the Bucks Rockets game tonight or last night, depending on when you're listening to this.
Yeah, that's true. Let's save the analysis of what happens for our next broadcast. But very quickly on that topic for tonight's game between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Houston Rockets, this reminds me a little bit of when Chris Paul and Kobe Bryant played late in the season. And this is different and not quite as specific. In that situation, it was one of the last, if not the last games of the year. It was nationally televised. It was on a Sunday. And the winner of that game became the number 1 seed. And Chris Paul shat the bed. And then Kobe's team, the Lakers, became the number 1 seed. And Kobe went on to win his lone MVP. If Chris Paul wins that game and has a better game, Kobe probably never wins an MVP, which is kind of crazy. It really came down to one game. And Chris Paul was far better than Kobe that year. Chris Paul was fucking amazing. That was pre-injury Chris Paul. Chris Paul. He was filthy. This does kind of seem like it. Like if Giannis or Harden, one of those two, is awful tonight, the other one's gonna win MVP.
No.
Yes, man. I'm telling you.
You really
yes.
think it comes down to that?
Yes.
My thing with this MVP race is that obviously I'm Giannis all day. I think his numbers are remarkable. Like top 3 in offense and defense. Best player on the team that's top 3 in offense and defense. His numbers are ridiculous, like 27, 12, and 8. Like across the board, offensive stats are amazing. Plus his defensive stats are also ridiculous. But how do you not give it to James Harden? Like,
who's normalized the 50-point game as who cares? Oh, another 50-point game.
That's
Whatever.
it. And I know people like voter exhaustion from James Harden because he's come in at number 2 like the last 4 years, and then came in at number 2 for 3 years, then 1, and now he's like either going to be 1 or 2 this year. Giannis is 24. He's got a lot more time to win those MVPs. I think you kind of have to give it to Harden because historically, if you're going to look back at what Giannis did in his season, you're like, wow, that's a solid-ass, like, Hakeem Olajuwon MVP season, like, Karl Malone MVP season numbers. But how do you just not give it to somebody who's averaging, like, 40 points over their last 40 games?
And I wonder how the sort of Nash-style voting block goes here, where Steve Nash won an MVP.
2.
Well, he won the first one.
Okay.
And then he came back the second year, and his team had lost, I believe, Amare for the second one, and he had a better year. And Harden has a similar situation where Chris Paul missed games, Capella missed games, Ariza's off the team. They haven't had quite the cohesion of the roster that they had in the past. Gordon was pretty shitty for the first half of the season. He was out there with Austin Rivers and shit. But he's clearly better than he was last year. So if you voted for him last season, to say no, he's not this year, kind of runs counter to your argument for giving him the first one.
I agree. And Also, the NBA has changed a little bit, where the Bucks can have the best record in the league, and the Rockets could have the 10th best. Doesn't really matter at this point anymore. I think that's kind of been removed from most of the voting.
But Giannis is
criteria.
a remarkably strong MVP candidate. If you look at the criteria that we've always used, he leads his team in essentially every single statistical category, whether it's like blocks or rebounds or assists and points. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Steals.
I think it's points, rebounds, blocks, assists, steals,
I think that's what I just said.
turnovers.
Okay, so he's got that. They've got the best record in the East. They are elite on offense and defense. It's a really good resume if you are like putting together your candidate. And you're like, yeah, I know Harden's a really good guy and he's got this, but like best record, leading his team in all these categories, doesn't have a legit star playing with him. Middleton good, Bledsoe good, Lopez good. They are a solid team, but there's not even like a contemporary.
Averaging 27 points without being able to shoot threes as well. James Harden.
Harden, an unethical three-point shooter versus a virtuous dunker.
So who do you have in tonight's game?
Where is it? Do we know?
No. I mean,
Have they announced
I
that?
don't know. They haven't announced it yet. They're playing at Staples Center, actually, now that there's no one good playing there.
They are playing in Milwaukee. So I'll take Milwaukee. I think Milwaukee's been the better team this year. They're at home. I like that I go to the NBA.com for this locational information, and it says, should this settle the Kia MVP debate? Who calls it the Kia MVP debate?
NBA.com, because they're sponsored by Kia.
I didn't know that.
The Kia MVP debate.
Giannis doesn't have a Wade. He doesn't have a Bosch. He doesn't even have a Chris Paul.
But this has a lowly Chris Middleton.
It's a guy whose name is spelled Khris.
Yes.
Intriguing.
Very
Untrustworthy.
intriguing.
A little untrustworthy.
Yeah.
Well, that's debate will be settled tonight, as I said. Whoever wins that game, they will be MVP. Unless, of course, there's a reversal in who plays better. If Harden's terrible, but the Rockets win, which is unlikely, then it's still all up in the air.
Wow. Hard-hitting stuff. You know what else got hit hard last night?
Nurkic's leg.
Oh, my lordy. I didn't watch it. I'm not going to watch it. I can't watch those gruesome, potentially, definitely season-ending and like seemingly career-ending injuries. I know they're not in these days, but ugh.
Yeah, so Yusuf Nurkic,
There we
the
go.
big boy on the Portland Trailblazers, started his career in Denver and really became a borderline star this season and was a big reason that the Blazers might have been able to do more damage than they have in the past. They've typically flamed out in the playoffs, and he gave them a dimension of toughness, of rebounding, interior presence that they hadn't had. And if you look at metrics, he's been a great defensive player. He's steals and blocks. He's very unique in that sense. But he's also just a big goon, like a big, mean-spirited fucker. He's taunted basically everybody. Talks shit about Ben Simmons, like maybe Westbrook. He's a son of a 7-foot cop. He's a dick. On a team full of cops, they needed
Donovan
that. They needed
Mitchell's
him.
that tall?
But they needed a bad cop. Portland's been a team of good cops.
Yeah.
And he was a bad Bosnian
Bad
cop.
Bosnian cup.
So anyway, I'm with you. I'm managed to avoid watching, I believe, a horrible leg fracture on his left leg that immediately brought out all these, prayers along Twitter from
The prayers up emojis.
from like everybody in the NBA. It was just one after another. We're like, prayers for you, and I'm trying to desperately not see that injury.
Yeah. I'm good with not seeing it. I know what it... Once you know what the result is, you don't really need to...
What's the gnarliest one out of these NBA injuries that you?
The one that I did not like the Paul George one.
That was really bad.
the Paul George one, just because I think him hitting the stanchion, it was just like, oh, like he just hit that thing in a weird. Like he wasn't particularly going for a ball or anything. It seemed so random.
I managed to avoid that one. I also managed to avoid the Karis LeVert injury, which was notably gruesome. There was the one in college ball, the guy on Louisville.
Ugh.
That one I saw, and that one was fucking awful. What one was really bad was Andrew Bogut's arm injury.
Oh, yeah,
That
when he was on
that sucked.
When he was on Milwaukee, yeah.
He went to dunk and kind of fell and landed on his arm, and it just crumpled.
Oh man, we're not even watching it. We're just talking about it, and it makes me want to throw up. But it's real bad for the Portland Trailblazers because they look like they might be able to finally make a little bit of noise in the playoffs after after that loss on the Chandler Parsons 3.
And also, the West is so tough that not only does it hurt you in the playoffs, just losing a guy of that caliber down the stretch, you might drop in the standings enough because it's so tight that all of a sudden you're going against, I don't know, Golden State in the first round. It's unlikely, but they could. I mean, they're currently in the 4th spot, and they're like 2 games ahead of Utah and the Clippers and 3 ahead of the Spurs and OKC. Like, if you go on a little bit of a dip late in the season and you're Portland missing your star center, you might have a very different seeding.
All of a sudden, a lot of those teams are kind of happy to see to maybe catch you in the first round because the whole makeup of your team changes if someone like Nurkic goes down. I believe he in the game last night before he went down. It was late in the game, but he had like 32 and 14 boards or something. Like a very, very effective player, and especially with shortened rotations in the playoffs, he was going to see a lot of minutes. And so now they lack interior toughness and also like a lot of scoring and rebounding. Like they could be screwed again. The other thing is the injury happening this late in the season, given the time it takes for people to come back from this injury, this likely puts him out for next season as well, like including the playoffs.
I will say some of these awful injuries, people come back from more successfully than ones that are non-contact.
Sure, but he's out at least probably a year before he starts even playing contact again, and that puts them like maybe not even making the playoffs if they don't have a difference in personnel, and even if they do, having him back for, you know what I mean? Like it's affecting. It's likely going to affect 2 postseasons.
It could,
for the Portland Trailblazers.
And also to your point about the timing, they don't have an opportunity to add someone who's going to be eligible for the playoffs. They could have made a good case to Bogut a few weeks ago and said, you're going to get real minutes here. At the trade deadline, they could have made a move, but they're stuck with the roster they have. I mean, I don't know the intricacies of the Blazers roster. Maybe there's a 2-way guy they can convert, but the odds of finding an actual guy are none now. Like, you just don't have the opportunity to add someone who can be on your team for the playoffs. Tough luck.
Yeah,
Blazers.
Sorry, Blazers. It was nice knowing you all these years.
So their current foe, if the playoffs were today, would be Utah. And the Jazz were involved in a little bit of a snafu last night.
One might call it a sting operation.
A bust.
It was definitely a bust.
They brought up the old riot ram.
Yeah, it's like Stonewall all over again. All right, so tell the folks what we're sitting here chuckling to ourselves about.
Well, we're yucking it up about. Devin Booker, the pretty good player on the Phoenix Suns, who can score a lot of points.
The cherubic scoring angel of Phoenix, I believe that his name has been.
A lot of people call him that.
Yes.
Yeah. So this cherubic individual, he was on the verge of putting up 60 points.
The precocious cherub.
He was on the verge of it. It was.
How on the verge of it would he have been? Would it be
within one solitary point?
So he had 59 points.
59 points. Now, to paint a more fleshed out Rubenesque portrait of this cherubic individual. The Phoenix Suns were down by about 30 at this point.
That's a deficit or two.
And there was very little time left in the game. So Booker still out there looking for 60. And the Jazz were like...
No, it's actually more insidious than that. Booker checked back into the game with 54 points. He checked back in with 2.5 minutes to go while they were down 30 to chase his second 60-point game of his career.
And
Unethical.
Extremely unethical. Now, some people disagreed. There were people out there who said, okay, sorry. So the Jazz intentionally fouled his teammates.
Yes.
In order to prevent him from getting the ball and taking shots. And that got some people pissed. The punditry was like, if you don't want him to score 60, then stop him. Prevent him from doing it on the court. Don't artificially stymie him from doing this just because you don't want him to score 60 against you. Don't foul someone else late in a meaningless game to prevent him from doing it. Just do it on the floor. Double team
foul
him,
somebody
whatever.
because you normally, if you're fouling with 16 seconds left, you're fouling the team that is in the lead, not the team that is 30 points in.
It's a rare situation,
hole.
yes.
Very rare situation. That said, if you want to talk about natural flow of basketball,
Which I do.
Okay. Don't put the little garden gnome back in when he's sitting on 54 if those empty 6 more points are only there to serve his legacy chasing, and those 6 points are not going to erase a 30-point deficit. So then he shouldn't be in the game.
I'm with you. I think that...
And it's not often that we will take the side of law enforcement agency, the Utah Jazz, because
the
hate
DEA
cops.
of the NBA.
Yes.
I agree, because I think that once he checks back in with the sole purpose of scoring 60 in a meaningless game against your scrubs, which makes it even less valuable because he's going against the bums who are on the court in a 30-point game. He's not doing this against Gobert. He's not doing this even in a game against reasonable competition. It's guys who are playing out the string in a meaningless game that is completely over, and he's like, actually, I'm coming back.
Yeah, and then Quinn Snyder's not going to be like, well, fuck this guy. Like, Donovan, Rudy, get back out there and stop him because he's conserving their players because they've already put the game away. That game is over. He's not going to risk injury. He's not going to risk a player being cold and have their minutes re-upped just to stop somebody else. So sure, stop him in a non-violent, non-dickish manner, because that's the other thing. If he starts to try and hang another 6 points on a bunch of scrubs when the game's out of reach just to get to his 60, that's going to piss some players off. He might get a shot to the mouth. Or a little razor blade to the back of the knees.
I'm not in favor of trying to hurt players. I do believe, though, that it would be absolutely justified to make him earn those points from the stripe every single time with vicious shots.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're out here trying to show us up. You know this is not our starters. We're just some guys trying to get a little late game run, make the coaches see that we know how to run the plays, pass the ball around, get a little tick, work up a sweat, and you're coming in here for no purpose other than selfishness, pure selfishness.
And also, the Jazz, as far as I'm concerned, in a game that they have destroyed their opposition, they don't need their name dragged through the mud of history when it's like, yeah, Devin Booker hung 61 or 62 on the Utah Jazz in a loss in 2019. That's all it's going to say.
There's a totally mature way of being like, fuck it, who cares? Which
was fouling.
Saying just do it, whatever, get 60, we don't care. But I also think it's entirely valid to do what they did, which was prevent him from doing it and saying, fuck off, dude. If you want to do something corny, we'll do something corny. You've tossed out the rules of engagement in a lame way, and we will
So
see
what
you.
you're saying
but
is
they
that,
could have also said, "Eat some floorboards, Devin."
yeah, I think they did the responsible, smart thing. They
Would have been pretty funny to see him just get like clotheslined
I like-
repeatedly, just over and over, just every time he touches it repeatedly.
I
So
like
he
the
gets to
idea
60.
now that you said rules of engagement of like Rudy Gobert being like, Coach Snyder, what is the
Lorraine.
what are the rules of engagement? And Snyder in these like creepy fucking
Sacre
suit
bleu.
just being like, weapons free, boys, weapons free.
I mean,
Which is also the best part of the movie Sicario 1, not Sicario 2, more Sicarios, or Sicario 3, most of the Sicarios.
Is there going to be a Sicario 3?
Fuck yeah, man. It's going to be like 8 of them, I think.
By
They'll
the
be
time
like
they get
direct to video.
I was about to say, it's totally direct to pay-per-view by Sicario 6.
Yeah.
Maybe by Sicario 3.
Well, it's like that movie Jarhead with Jake Gyllenhaal. There was one movie and then they sold the IP to some other like shitty company. So now there's like 8 Jarhead movies. They're all on like Amazon Prime and they just have different things to do with different soldiers. Great stuff.
Sicario 2 was maligned by the critics. I enjoyed it.
Dude, anytime you have like a heavily armed helicopter coming over the horizon, what are you complaining about?
Some shooting scenes that involve ski masks in Mexico City. I might be in on that.
Yeah. Did you see a lot of ski masks in Mexico City when you were there 8 times this year?
I did not.
The Mexico City ski masks.
That could be the franchise name.
Yeah. The Mexico City Marauders.
I still would say that the best quote about them was when I talked to Dion Waiters.
And?
And we were at this sort of fortified compound where the Miami Heat were practicing. And this was a story that I wrote for The Ringer about a year and change ago, a year and a half ago. And I asked him about if he had any perceptions about Mexico City, and because he had never been there, most of the players like very firmly, no, I have no thoughts about Mexico City. I have never considered it. No preconceptions. Being very bland and intentionally, as athletes are prone to do. But Dion Waiters was like, "Oh yeah, I love all that gangster shit. I love gangster movies. Oh yeah, I've seen all the ones like, I guess he was probably referring to Narcos, which wasn't in Mexico City yet, but it was in that region of the world, I suppose."
It's like that drug shit.
Exactly. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm into that stuff." And I asked him if the NBA had given them any particular warnings in the way that the NBA certainly did, and he said they did. And he's like, "Yeah, it doesn't worry me though." He's like, "I'm from the hood. I can adapt to anything." I was like, You are a treasure, even though you may not be used to heads rolling like bowling balls into a discotheque. Dion Waiters has also seen his fair share of very, very gnarly things.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's not Dion Waiters upside down hanging off a bridge with his own dick in his mouth heavy, but
He did have a tough route though. Yeah. So I was like, I respect that take from Dion.
If you could see into the future, or say like a genie, like Aladdin,
A
or
genie
somebody,
bus.
yes, said to you, Ben, you could live the life of a very rich drug gangster guy for 10 years, but then you're going to be dead because that happens to everyone. Would you do it? You got 30 years.
At what age are you allowed to take on that role?
It's from right now.
Oh,
They're like,
no.
they're like, you got another 30 years just being Ben Detrick, or you can have 10 being like a badass drug gangster with riches beyond your wildest dreams. Do you take the extended, like, boring ass 30 years of just being you, or do you go the drug dealer route?
Do you go out in a blaze of glory? Or is
I don't
it
know
just
how
sort of
you
like,
die.
Do you
Like-
just like die of, I don't know, like colon cancer? Or is it like, no, it's going to be your estate gets raided by the cops and there's helicopters and dogs and you got a plate of cocaine
you
and
can
Tony's,
choose.
you
You can choose how you go out. It's like, of course you can.
Okay, no, that's a different wrinkle.
I mean, you just have 10 years. You're going to be dead in 10 years regardless. You can, at 9 years, 364 days, decide to like do your Scarface shit.
I mean,
But your life is just going to cease to exist. Do you want 30 boring ones or 10 druggy, like speedboats?
I'll take the 30 boring ones, I think. It's just a lot more time.
Have you seen Miami Vice, the Colin Farrell?
Have you seen
Jamie
how
Foxx
boring your life is and how much it would improve?
They have fucking speed boats.
So you're taking the 10 years.
I'm taking those 10 years. I'm not going to kill anybody in those 10 years.
You want the cigarette boat.
I want the fucking cigarette boat. I want the hot showers with exotic women.
You want
the
Miami moon bouncing off of the hood of your Ferrari as Phil Collins songs play. And you're going over Biscayne Bay living your best life.
And I want Jamie Foxx to be my best friend.
Now that's a totally different element that we haven't even brought in. You get to be friends with Jamie Foxx.
If you follow the Miami Vice playbook, yeah. But
that's true.
That would also make me Colin Farrell, which would make me very happy.
Yeah, this was just a secret trick for you to become.
Yeah, this is like the
Colin Farrell, as you would like to call him.
Farrell. Look,
you're him. You can decide now.
Okay,
this is your life.
It's Pharrell Williams. Is it Colin Farrell? Is it Will Ferrell? Or is it Will Ferrell? Or is it Colin Farrell?
Is it a feral dog or a Pharrell dog?
It's a feral dog.
Let's just use feral. It's funnier.
Pharrell. Colin Farrell. Well, you got to remember he's Irish.
I will remember that.
So how would an Irish person say Pharrell? Farrell. Name's Colin Farrell.
Yeah, that kind of just splits the difference.
Yeah.
So maybe you just appropriate Emerald Isle culture and use, the actor Colin Farrell.
Well, as a Scotsman, I could never betray that and pretend to be Irish.
We'd never ask you to do that. That's a bridge too far.
Okay. Well, just don't even mention it again.
We talked a little bit about the Phoenix Suns.
Oh, yeah.
Their disappointing season with Devin Booker's stymied 59-point game. They were also in the news a bit when Michael Avenatti, the famous Stormy Daniels porn lawyer, was on the phone with Nike trying to apparently get himself hired. There was $10 million involved.
What kind of job did he want at Nike?
Well, what he was trying to seemingly do was allegedly smother information that he had that he believed would be harmful to Nike. So it was like he was trying to kind of get a settlement out of it. I don't know the exact specifics, but he was arrested and charged with wire fraud and some.
He's like, if you give me a job in the design department, but I don't, and I have a desk, but I don't ever sit at it, and
I want Tinker Hatfield to make a bunch of sneakers, but they'll be called the Air Avenattis.
Yeah, and I won't tell everybody about all the other stuff they already know.
The information that he had, that he was attempting to wedge into the Nike coffers, was that DeAndre Ayton's mom was apparently paid off by Nike. And when that news came out today, it was greeted with a resounding, yeah, okay.
Yeah. How much was it? How much did she take?
I'm not sure what it was. My rough guess is like everything's 40,000.
Yeah.
It's like 10 seems too low. Like 60 maybe, but like hundreds of thousands, I don't see that. Like seems like 40.
It's got to be money you can hide.
Yeah, it's not in bags of bullion.
Well, no, but I mean, you can't. We've all seen Goodfellas. It's not like you can go out and just spend that 40,000 in one go. What's the point? What's the point in having $200,000 if you can't spend more than 40? So just give them 40.
A fair point.
Yeah.
Are you really gonna stash them in the floorboards of your apartment?
And this was given to her while he was in college?
Unclear. It was just something that everyone was like, yeah, we kind of know all that shit. The real issue was that it wasn't a good Coach K Zion scandal. We already knew.
Also, maybe
we already knew though from that prior one that Ayton's mom and family and Ayton was getting paid to go to Arizona. Like this is old news.
Yeah, I mean also Nike, $40,000. That mean Puma put up 50 grand or something? Like,
I love that Nike was just like, well, that's cool that you'd bring that up, Avenatti. We're going to record this and just put the feds on it immediately. Like, you thought you were going to bully Nike? That is a company with a lot of resources and probably a lot of litigious.
will he be a protected prisoner
employees.
now that he like tried to fuck with everyone's favorite shoes? They'd be like, yo, you tried to fuck with Phil.
Yeah, but also conservatives hate him. He really is a man without a country at this point.
If you were to give him a country, which country would it be? If you thought that Avenatti belonged in a Avenatti, should we send him to Milano?
A country club prison.
Yeah, you could do that.
I wonder if he'll go to jail. That'd be pretty funny. I could see him in Manafort and like some solid suiting.
They could be like Jack Nicholson in the Departed, where they're all just like kicking it in that nice prison cell with TVs and a stovetop burner.
I like
Or like
them
Junior in The Sopranos when he's
I feel like they
well
could, taking
housed.
their like orange jumpsuits and carefully tailoring them into 3-piece suits.
Dude, a prison orange 3-piece suit might be a good look for you.
I feel like it's something that, I don't know, Wilson Chandler wore on draft day or something. Anyway, that happened. That was news. And Avenatti's scheme did not work.
It did not. Ayton's been playing well, though.
Good player.
Considering we totally dumped on him at like 6 months ago.
I like a lot of this rookie class. He looks solid. I put up I did not put it up. The interns put up a poll on the Cookies Twitter account.
We're talking about you, not to you. Shut the fuck up.
Thank you. What the hell are they doing out there?
Damn it.
Make some memes. Okay. They
That short one's really, really like a problem. The 16-year-old one. The dude with the glasses.
yeah, that they're completely legal.
Yeah.
They have visas and green cards and all sorts of things.
Good.
And their cage is well appointed.
Well, I mean, it just look. We do throw a rug over it when they need to go to sleep at night.
And we throw plenty of food in the mornings.
Yeah, some little leftover Puttanesca for them. And if they're lucky, you guys might get some booch later.
But when they put up a poll between Ayton and Mitchell Robinson, which would you rather have? Talking about the two best rookie centers. Came back 50-50. Now, is that trolling? Is that Knicks fans? Or is that a reasonable split?
I'm going to throw trolling Knicks fans as the 100% reason I came back 50-50. Because Ayton is, I don't know, 80% better than Mitchell Robinson.
I think I'd take Mitchell Robinson.
Oh, what?
And I'm not even being like a contrarian. I think Ayton is the kind of guy who will eventually put up big scoring numbers. I just feel like Mitchell Robinson is such a freakish shot blocker that he can change a defense. And
You mean like change the entire defense, not just like those possessions where he...
yeah, that he
Creates
can
a block.
that you can build a defense around him. And Ayton, as talented as he is, and he looks like he can be a 2010 guy for the next 15 years. I don't know what kind of team could be built around him. But we'll see. They're both super young. But the real point here is that I'm in on Mitchell Robinson, and I was surprised by the results of
Did
the...
Kuo just text you to be his proxy in this one, since he's a Mitchell
maybe
Robinson psychopath?
Maybe I'm missing the guy.
Yeah, I do miss him as well.
There was a distinct lack of Mitchell Robinson content over the last week or so, and it felt necessary to satisfy the Mitchell Robinson fan base that is thirsty for Mitchell Robinson.
People really
content.
like him, huh?
He seems like a weirdo too, which I appreciate. He's kind of goofy.
You seen him out anywhere?
I have not, but is he 21? Probably.
Probably. Where would you think he goes, since he's a weirdo?
I don't really know where NBA players go these days.
But he has like lunch at Lovely Day or something.
He actually turns 21 on April 1st. So mark your calendars for that big festival.
Oh, he gets to have his first drink.
Finally,
And wait, what date is it again?
April 1st. We're talking about a couple days from now.
It's too bad they still got some games left, or else he could have really like tied one on.
I mean, who's going to notice? It's like, that's the good thing about the dregs of the season if you're the Knicks. You can come in hungover a couple times, and there's not going to be a lot of hell to pay.
Crazy? Not going to be a lot of hell to pay? You can't come in hungover in the Knicks, man. Dolan, there's no booze even in the offices of
Well, that's true. The Dolan element.
MSG.
I thought people would just be sort of happy, like, oh, he's tanking, he's in on it, he's dogging it today. But Dolan, he catches a little scent of that.
What else is in those buildings over there, like near MSG? There's the building across the road, is like VH1 or some shit. Like
the Pensy.
There's all these different businesses that he owns, and I went for like kind of a vague job interview there once, and they gave me like this Bible of shit to sign, so I didn't take the job. I had to take drug tests and everything, which was
So it seems like a non-starter. You violated the cookies drug policy numerous times.
Yeah,
Been meaning to bring that up.
No, it was very strange. Like you had to get tested for like heroin and cocaine and all of sort of shit. Class A's anyway, and they don't have any booze in the entire building. All of those except for the booze that can be sold at the Garden.
I was going to say, they have a litany of $12 beers that you can purchase at the Garden.
Yeah, but it's like offices, personal fridges, everything in any other part of MSG is completely dry, and it's like a zero tolerance policy. So I bet if Mitchell came in with like a couple of Modelo's,
what would you have?
stashed in
What would
his
you
gym
have
bag.
in your office refrigerator? The little mini fridge that lurks beneath the desk.
Am I allowed to have booze in this one?
No.
Okay.
We're saying that you work for this company. You signed this Koran full of restrictions. You're off the drugs. You're off the hooch. What's in your little fridge?
Obviously kombucha, little oat milk to go with my.
Oh man,
cold
I was
brew.
even trying to set up a word from our non-existent sponsors.
Maybe some hummus, some baby carrots. By the way, shout out to baby carrots. You guys, baby carrots had me fooled for a number of years. I thought they were born that way, and then when I found out that like it was actually people just shaving down bigger carrots into like baby
I
carrots,
hate baby carrots.
my fucking life was turned upside down. I
You
felt
like baby
so
carrots?
Stupid, yeah.
I think they're awful.
What's so bad about them? There's a young carrot trying to get ahead in this world.
They always feel like they've been frozen. They're always watery. They get fuzzy.
They probably have been frozen watery because they're literally shaved down carrots.
I know. I'm saying that they always have that weird, like almost opaque orange layer of fuzz around them. They're fucking gross. Eat an adult carrot like a man.
Fine, I eat an adult. What the fuck does that supposed to mean?
Just grow up is what I'm saying. Have big boy carrots.
Listen, you asked me what was in my fucking fridge. I'm giving you my contents.
I don't like the fact that you've got baby
All right,
carrots in your fridge.
I'll have a Siggy's yogurt because I still support our friend Siggy's, even though you're on the Chobani thing. But yeah, hear that, Siggy. Ben's fridge is full of Chobani.
Edit, cut, interns.
He's a Chobani trader right now, man.
I'm not.
Gone against
I'm
Siggy.
not. Love Siggy's.
What else? I would have some salumi and absolutely like a giant vat of string cheese.
I would just want it floor to ceiling muscle milk, just to give people the idea that I'm just in there, just like working out all day, just protein,
I
muscle
don't think
milk
that would
guy.
work. You'd just be sitting in your ergonomic chair getting a really giant gut from the muscle milk.
Throwing back chocolate muscle milks. Anyway,
Yeah. Muscle milk. Cool.
yeah, just like I'm a muscle milk guy, I guess at this point.
I bet Quo's fridge would just be filled with fucking clams. Just clams and oysters that he shucks every time he's hungry. He just like cracks a little oyster or a clam.
I don't think I've ever actually like shucked one.
No, that's awful. You don't need to. That's why they have people at restaurants.
Yeah, I feel like that's there's people for that.
Yeah. Bradley Cooper shucked 1,000,000 oysters in that movie Burnt. Not him personally, but his stupid character.
Coops. We talked about the MVP race before we delved into muscle milk and clams and all sorts of really interesting topics. We did not talk about the Rookie of the Year award. Ayton, probably a favorite going in, but he is no longer in that conversation, as people like to say about postseason awards, in the conversation, which is always strange to me because if someone's not going to win it, they're not in the conversation. But anyway.
But so didn't you say he's not even in the conversation?
He's not. But when people are like, well, Paul George, he's in the conversation. It's like, he's not, though, anymore. But, like, he's in the conversation at least. I know he's not going to win, but he's in the conversation. It's like, no, he's not. You can't be in the conversation if you don't have a chance.
Okay, yeah, I get what you mean.
Anyway. It really is
He
now.
was in the conversation.
Yes. But people like to be like, well, I know he's not going to win it, but, like, let's get him in the conversation. Like, Vooch, get him in the conversation. Not in the conversation. Anyway, Ayton, not in the conversation. In the conversation, Luka
Yes.
Doncic, the Slovenian star rookie on the Dallas Mavericks, a very unethical team, and Trae Young for a exciting and exhilarating talent on the Atlanta Hawks. And the irony, of course, is that they were traded for each other on draft day. So a little backstory is that Doncic started out the season on fire. And he's continued to play well, but he jumped out to a commanding lead in this Rookie of the Year race. And over the last, let's say, month or two, Trae Young has caught a fire. And I believe he won Player of the Month in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, not just rookie though, right? Player
Player of the Month a couple weeks ago, or for the last. I think it was for the last week or
Yeah,
was it
Player of
last
the
month?
Week.
Player of the week. I
Can't
think it was
be
Player of the
month, that'd
week.
be crazy.
I think it was Player of the Week. But yeah, he won that, and now NBA players are kind of rallying around Young as being the Rookie of the Year. He's had some game winners, and people such as Kuzma and Blake Griffin and Officer Mitchell have come around to say, okay,
Oh, people
that's
who
the
went to
Rookie
the
of the
same
Year.
college as him? Cool.
Perhaps. So, where do you stand on this now frenzied debate about the NBA Rookie of the Year?
Well, I mean, I think Doncic is still the Rookie of the Year. Sustained excellence, which is one of my favorite concepts. Sustained excellence. Like the Bee Gees. Sustained excellence. Over the season, should give him the nod, but I think Trae Young is going to win Rookie of the Year simply because he's swaggier, and like you said, he has all the support of the NBA, AAU, college families, and he plays for Atlanta, and everyone wants to be down with everyone from Atlanta because they like Migos.
I think Doncic will still win. Just if I was going to guess. And the whole idea of like the split Rookie of the Year, I would be like, maybe they'll share it. Like that never really happens. That happened that one year when it was like, who was it, Tyreek Evans or somebody, or Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, or I forget exactly. But it is a rarity. I think I would go with Luka Doncic for the same reason you said. Over the course of the season, he has been the better player. And if you look at his advanced metrics, he really does blow Trae Young out of the water. Trae Young is awesome, and he put the Sixers in the Trae Young meat grinder a couple of days ago, and almost just single-handedly kind of took them apart. And he looks to be the kind of offensive talent that a team like the Hawks can legitimately build around. But I'm in the Doncic camp. I also will not be mad if Trae Young wins it though, because the Hawks were so maligned by ourselves, and especially Andrew Kuo, whose big board hated Trae Young for that draft day trade, which Kuo, who is not here to defend himself, said was the worst trade in NBA history. So I'm almost looking forward to a Trae Young win just to really stick it to Andrew Kuo.
I mean, fine. Let's put the full weight of cookies behind Trae Young for president, so we can just yam on Andrew for the next year.
He said it was the worst trade of all time.
I mean, I don't think either of us disagreed.
Oh, most certainly, I don't think we did at all. But I don't know if we said it was the worst of all time. It did look like a bad trade, and I still think it's a bad trade because I think Doncic is quite a bit better. But I do like what the Hawks are doing. I like how he is a talent who can be the fulcrum of an offense. I like a lot of their young dudes, and that's where I want Zion to go, personally. If we believe that Zion is a franchise-altering star or potentially one, the Hawks would be a really cool spot. Him and Trae Young together would be must-watch.
Agreed. Although, if outside of the Knicks, just because it would be good to see if somebody can actually turn them around, I got a sneaking suspicion that Zion is going to go to Dallas.
Just based on
gut.
Your muscle milk churned gut.
Yeah, gut and symphonic geographic vibraphone wavelengths.
I do not want Dallas to get him, despite the fact that Doncic, Porzingis, and Zion would be a really fun combination. I don't want Dallas to be rewarded for their unethical behavior again. Out of all the teams that get blamed for tanking, Dallas has somehow escaped widespread criticism, despite the fact that Mark Cuban was fined something like $500,000 for publicly saying that tanking was a good idea.
I mean, by the way, you keep banging on about this unethical thing. Your entire team, the entire shit that you like are completely in love with, the Philadelphia 76ers was built around an entirely unethical GM.
Disagree. Highly disagree.
How do you highly disagree? They're just doing the same thing that Philly did.
Disagree. This is not a self-serving point. To me, the idea of rebuilding through the draft is totally legitimate. Being bad and getting a high draft pick, 100% cool. Saying we're going to rebuild through the draft, ethical. It's chill. But what Dallas has done over and over is at the end of seasons try to lose games rampantly, and they've done it 3 years in a row, and I don't think that's cool. Quo disagrees with me, but I don't dig that shit where you say we're gonna let healthy players sit. We're gonna just sit here and trot out guys who we know will lose down the stretch of the season in order to get more ping pong balls. Not a fan of it.
So that's different to Hinkie trading away good players for picks.
I just feel like Philly was always a meritocracy. They were rebuilding in the traditional way of through the draft, playing young guys. And then teams like Dallas, the Lakers, whoever.
But they were also getting rid of veterans that they could have used to get wins so that they could have more draft picks. And that's kind of similar. It's the same thing. It's like you're trading veterans for picks, knowing that those picks will be better if you are without the veterans and you're a shitty fucking 15-win season team.
I'm okay with that if it makes sense long term. I'm not saying that tanking doesn't make sense. I just don't like the tanking when teams are trying to be competitive and then all of a sudden hit the kill switch and down the stretch and just lose every game putting garbage lineups out. That's my only grievance. And Dallas does that all the time. They did that with Nerlens Noel was missing. He was missing every other game after coming back from a finger injury for load management. You're just lying. You're just literally putting your good players on the bench for no reason other than to lose games. Anyway, he would be fun in theory. Do not want to see Dallas rewarded, especially because if Dallas falls in the top 5, which they currently have something like a 40% chance of doing, the Hawks don't get their pick from that Trae Young Doncic deal.
Maybe Quo will be right after all.
It's possible. No, Quo's not going to be right. That
He
can't
never is.
No.
When's the last time Quo was right about anything?
I'm thinking back.
I'm thinking back. He was right about that tea that he brings being delicious, so I like that tea.
The tea was good.
A couple of sacks still left in that cupboard
Are there?
over there. Yeah, I believe so.
I thought you polished off the last of the fat sacks.
No, I would never deny Quo his final sack.
I'm just glad you're still with us, man. You had a brush with death earlier.
No, I didn't. Fine, I had a brush with death.
Yeah. A close shave.
Oh, there we go. See, yeah, I had a good. This has been a better end to my
I
day.
love cookies.
You say it was
Cookies.
perfect.
I love cookies. I love cookies.
Some would say that it's a perfect day.
I could see that. For a two-man pod, not for a three-man pod. There's a
Not for a
different,
three-man pod.
totally different gradient system. But for a two-man pod,
I would say it's about as perfect as two people could get.
on a day that began with a cutthroat accosting you,
Oh, are we a perfect couple?
yeah, we did it.
All right. Well, congratulations. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, and back to you, son.
Why'd you have to son me? Could have just been equals in this shit. Could
The
have just been
perfect
in love
pod.
together. God damn it.
Cookies.
Cookies.
Cookies.